Welcome to the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. Now enjoy the show. All right, guys, I want to tell you a little bit about Type 1 Lifting. So Type 1 Lifting is a clothing brand that proceeds of the shirts, the hats, and everything else go to the Children's Diabetes Foundation. This whole t-shirt company started from me taking care of a 5-year-old girl from the emergency department at the Children's Hospital I worked at in Atlanta for a while back. I thought I needed to do a little bit more than kind of just talk about my story. So this is how I started the clothing line, because I wanted to show people that even though diabetics have this really bad disease, we can still do amazing things in our life, and diabetes won't stop us reaching our goals. So go check out type1lifting.com. And, if you have any questions, you can always reach me out on Instagram. It's Type1Lifting, and hope you guys enjoy the show. Hey guys, we have a new sponsor for the Type 1 Lifting podcast. The company's called Liberté Lifestyle. So Liberté is a French word meaning freedom, and the company was founded on the desire to have freedom to choose what we want to do with our lives. I actually had the owner, Nicole, on my podcast on episode 28. So if you want to go back and listen to her, she talks about how she started the company and what she wants to do in the future with the company, which is pretty cool. So they actually have knee sleeves, wrist wraps, shirts, shorts. Love the knee sleeves. I have the ice cream knee sleeves and I love them so much. The neoprene's still good. The seams haven't split compared to other knee sleeves that I've had in the past. And I'm planning to keep these for a very, very long time. So Nicole actually gave me a promo code for you guys too. So it's all capital letters, TYPE and the number 1. So it's Type 1. So go to libertelifestyle.com, check out what they have in the store, use the promo code Type 1 and save some coin. Now let's go to the episode. All right, guys, welcome to a new episode of the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. I have a very interesting guest. His Instagram page is one of my favorites to look at, imagery wise and video wise. So he's a photographer, a videographer, and actually a new podcaster, and now a host for a competition. Carlos Bown, how you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. I appreciate the intro. It's awesome to be here. I'm always down for a good chat, So when you reached out to me, I was super stoked. I'm like, let's do it. I'm down.
Yeah. So I was doing a little bit of research. First off, so is the hurricane even going past where you are right now?
No, actually, I'm in the top, like the northwest of Florida. It's called Pensacola, Florida. So luckily, it seems like for now it's gonna. I mean, lucky for me, unfortunate for a lot of our people, it's gonna go more towards the Tampa area and then straight up to Jacksonville, straight to Georgia. So it seems like we're not gonna get anything, probably just some rain. But yeah, man, I mean this area, the Gulf Coast, it's pretty crazy. I mean, we get at least 1 or 2 hurricanes every year. So it's kind of like we're prepared for it, but at the same time it's just sad to see, like you go on Instagram and then you see the videos and you're like, wow, that could have been, us.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I've seen literally sharks swimming on the highways and on the streets, and I'm like, this is totally insane
It's
to actually
crazy,
see
yeah.
this. Yeah. And I live in Georgia, so I don't get the brunt of what you guys get down in Florida, but we do get a
Mhm.
little bit of it. So I kind of understand where you're coming from, but I'm not really, because I'm not near the ocean. So
Yeah. Yeah, actually, Pensacola, we've gotten a pretty good one. I mean, big ones in the past. The last one that we barely, I mean, we almost got hit was, I forgot the name, but it was like 3 4 years ago, and it was going straight to Pensacola towards the last, literally like couple hours. It just moved a little east and it
mhm.
hit Panama City Beach area, and I think it's called Mexico Beach, and it was a complete disaster. So I mean, it's been pretty bad. And a couple of years ago, we had another one that the shingles of the house were flying away. It was hitting my car. The whole front part of my car was scratched. And it's kind of like, I think that we're expecting it pretty much every year.
Yeah, it's roughly around when it fall time. It's like, okay, here we
Yeah.
go. Start priming up for it. So
Yeah.
also I was when I was doing some research on you, you originally came from Venezuela and you moved
Yeah.
here to 2011. So what was the whole reason for that?
Well, funny enough, today marks 11 years since the day I moved from Venezuela to the United States. So
Okay.
I actually just wrote a like an Instagram post, and I was like very emotional, just thinking about, like my whole journey from moving there. I mean, answering your question, since I was a kid, I used to play golf. That was like my passion, playing growing up, just playing golf with my parent, with my dad. And in the caption, I wrote that when I was 13 years old, a magazine, like a golf magazine called Fairway Magazine, wrote like a little article on me.
Oh, cool.
And one of the questions was, what's your biggest goal right now when it comes to golf? And I was 13 years old, and I said, I want to go to the United States and play NCAA golf. That's my biggest dream. So now looking back, I'm thinking like, whoa, like since I was 13, I had, pretty big goals. Like I had goals set,
Hmm.
and I got really emotional just writing the caption, because then I started thinking about, like my whole journey to the moment, like I told my parents, hey, I think that staying here in Venezuela, I'm not gonna get the future that I want, right? Like it just at that point, I mean, it's still in a pretty bad situation, but at that point, it was just getting worse and worse. And they fully supported me, and I was 17 years old, and I just moved here by myself to pretty much just play tournaments around the area, around Florida, and
Hmm.
just to get recruited. And dude, I remember just crying the night before I was moving, just scared, like panicking, like what, like I'm moving by myself. I'm 17 years old. I'm an only child. Like I've always been very close to my parents,
Yep.
and yeah, man, it was scary, but I knew it was a sacrifice I had to make. So I moved to Orlando area. It's called How in the Hills. But yeah, it's pretty much Orlando. Nobody knows where How in the Hills is. And just play tournaments a whole year. And I got a golf scholarship to play at the University of West Florida, which is here at Pensacola, Florida. And yeah, man, played 4 years of college golf. It was the best time of my life. I got a bachelor's degree in business management, minor in marketing, and then right away I got a master's degree in business management with
Awesome.
yeah, just working in like social media management stuff and with the school. And that's kind of like what like started leading the way for me to be more of a creator, like a content creator, and like start learning about, the power of social media and how content can just like open a lot of doors for you. But yeah, that's pretty much how it got started.
Nice. So, what like was it a big culture shock from like, being from Venezuela moving to Florida and like or especially the Orlando area where like it's like the whole like it's a tourist trap pretty much there.
Yeah.
So what was your whole like mind going through this whole process of you moving into Florida?
Yeah, well, it definitely was a culture shock. I've always been a very extroverted person. I like to talk to people. I make friends super quick.
Hmm.
And I really didn't speak the language. So I was 17 years old. I could barely I remember like struggling to get a subway. Like it was hard. So just imagine somebody that's like so like extroverted and tries to like speak to everybody, but you can't really communicate to people.
Hmm.
So I remember just especially when I started college, just being, sitting by myself a lot of time because I didn't want to like approach people, or like people ask me something and sound dumb. So that was probably the biggest like cultural shock, just not being able to communicate the way I wanted to. And I mean the little things like back home in Venezuela is funny. Every time we meet somebody, we kiss in the cheek, right? Like we like hello and we give them a kiss.
Hmm.
Um, and obviously like here you do that and you're gonna get slapped. And I remember in college, like the first day orientation, the one of the guys, his name was Shy. He was there already for 4 years, so he's kind of like explaining everybody like things not to do. And he's like, hey, everybody comes from South America and from Spain, Venezuela, Brazil, and in Europe, Spain. Please do not be as touchy, or like, like don't kiss people. And
Yep.
that's not very, it's not a culture here. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll definitely remember. And I remember my first week of school, I meet somebody and I go to like give her a kiss on the cheek, and she's like, whoa, 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 what's going on? It was the funniest thing ever. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then she kind of like, like she kind of understood where like it just said like a cultural thing. But yeah, I mean, like the food is completely different. I don't know if you've been to Miami, but the the food over there, it's more similar than what we have in Venezuela. It's more like Cuban style food,
Yep.
rice, beans, meats, stuff. So but overall, like in reality, it's not that big of a difference compared to, other places. We still, in some ways, like Venezuela, still like very Americanized, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So like we growing up, I watched all the TV shows that everybody here watched, like Rocket Powers and SpongeBob and like Jersey Shore, like same shows that everybody, and
Yep.
playing PlayStation, Xbox. So in that sense, it's pretty much the same, but there is definitely cultural differences.
Very cool. So, when you were in college and you were going to school for like, the business management and then like, so it's like, all these other, master's degrees and stuff like that, and you started playing golf there.
Mhm.
So, what were some of the, were you thinking about like going pro the whole time of you, in the 4 years of college, like, okay, all right, since I'm in college right now let's take it to the next step and hopefully try to go pro.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Going pro was something I had in mind since early days.
Hmm.
In fact, at some point, I was thinking if getting the scholarship didn't work out, because even if you're a really good player, sometimes you just don't get the opportunity. I was gonna just turn pro when I was like 18 and just try to make it. Obviously, that wasn't something my dad wanted me to do. He was always such an influential person. I always listened to everything he said, and he definitely going to school and playing NCAA golf was the best decision, and that's what I did. And I think not until my probably junior year, maybe senior year of college, it's when I realized that most likely it's just tough. It's really tough. Like people don't get it. You see people on tour making millions of dollars, but in reality, there is so many people trying to get to that level. And if you're not inside the 150 worldwide, you're pretty much losing money every week. And it's a tough life too, just traveling every week. I mean, I have friends that play with me growing up that are now on tour, um, and I see their life, and obviously, like they're doing what they love, but it's just tough. Like they they play their practice round Tuesday and Wednesday. They play the tournament, obviously 72 holes. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they're done. They take a flight to their next city, one night of sleep, repeat for whole year pretty much if you're really trying to make it. Of course, like once you get to Tiger Woods level and stuff like that, you choose where to play and you have
Yep.
a certain schedule. But yeah, I just started realizing that it wasn't for me. I had different goals in mind. Um and yeah, it was obviously very bittersweet because it's something I wanted to do my whole life, and you can call it like I failed at it, and in reality I did. But it's we're always failing in life, so just kind of I failed at that specific goal, but it opened a lot of different doors for me. And looking back, I don't regret anything that happened. Like my decision of just kind of like focusing on other things, it it was a good decision.
Yeah. Technically, I don't think you failed because you went to college, you played collegiate golf, which is not a lot of people can do that.
Yeah, true.
So, I mean, I don't think you failed. I mean, I played college basketball, football, and lacrosse, and like, maybe I could have gone to the pros in lacrosse, but I mean, I don't really consider it a fail. So I just thought it was like, maybe a next step.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm hard on myself sometimes
Oh,
because
me too.
it really was a huge goal. Like I was so invested into it that it was really a tough couple of years in my life when it just wasn't going the way I wanted to, and
Hmm.
I was just pretty much fighting demons every night. Just it was like it's just a huge like stress in my life, dealing with golf and school, and obviously not doing good at golf at that point. I remember the moment that I talked to my coach. His name is Steve Fail, great guy. I was talking to him my senior year, and I remember telling him, Steve, I think this is it for me. Like I cannot deal with the stress anymore. I'm completely burned out. And we had one more tournament that season before, like the preseason before, like conference, regionals, nationals, etc.
Hmm.
And he's like, I mean, just play the last tournament. It's the home tournament. It's like, the our favorite tournament to play. And it was just so much. I just talked to him. I remember talking to him like tears in my eyes, like I just can't do it. I can't do it anymore. It's too much for me. It's not healthy for me. I know this has been my dream my whole life, but I think this is it, and I remember like him being so like supportive of, obviously, kind of like it. I can tell it hurt him, right? Because it was like, he was my coach. He obviously cared for me. We're really good friends too. It's like he was almost like a father figure for me growing up in school.
Mm.
Obviously, my dad was in Venezuela, so he felt very connected to every international player. And I just remember him being like very supportive of my decision. Obviously, a little sad, but he just supported it. I remember playing my last like qualifying round before the tournament, and I knew that was it for me. It was gonna be my last, hole. I remember on hole 18, just thinking this is it. Like this is gonna be the last hole I play as a competitive golfer, and all my teammates knew about it. I remember finishing the last putt, and all my teammates were kind of like, excited, clapping, like they supported my decision. Just they knew that was it for me, and it just felt like a huge weight just being released. Like it was just like kind of like just getting like accumulating for so long, just stress,
Yep.
just being like heartbroken about how life wasn't going the way I wanted to. And that moment, it's kind of like so many doors just opened for me. It was like, finally I can move on and do something different.
Very cool. Very cool. That's a great story. I mean, that's awesome. After all this, the golfing in college and stuff like that, you actually started in your own business. So,
Yeah. Well, I went to, I got my master's degree right after. So I finished my undergrad and I had 2 weeks off, and I started my MBA right away. I knew that if I was going to take like a little break, I wasn't going to go back to school.
yep.
And I really, I really wanted to get my master's degree, and I got a great opportunity. As I mentioned earlier, I worked in the business department at school, and one my main task was I was a teacher assistant for social media marketing and digital marketing, like the class. And it was such a great opportunity. That I took it right away. Obviously, I had really good grades in college, like as my undergrad, so they pretty much gave me like a free ride for a master's degree, and I was like, I mean, I'm gonna take it. And it was like, I remember my dad being just like so proud. Like, by the way, my life growing up was always like trying to make my parents proud. That's like the thing that like just fill me up with like the most like excitement and like happiness, just seeing my
Mhm.
mom and my dad just being proud of me.
Yep.
So I remember that moment that I called my dad. I'm like, hey, I got the position. I'm gonna start my MBA in 2 weeks. Like it's happening. And it was pretty cool. I learned so much. I was as I said, like as a teacher assistant in that position, I learned a lot. I got some new opportunities to be also in a program called the Executive Mentor Program. Um, that I was also like an assistant to it. So I went to all the conferences of like mentors talking about, you know, what we're talking about right now, like failing and like
Yep.
fighting demons, and then being to the point that right now they're the most successful people in the Gulf Coast of Florida. And it just a lot of learning, and I love every second of it. So right after that, I remember I finished my, by the way, this is a story that I haven't told anybody because it's very I haven't said it publicly. Obviously my friends know about it, but I've been in our podcast, but it's never gone to the direction of this. But my dad got very sick my last semester, and when I was doing my master's degree, my mom called me that he was diagnosed with cancer. And just like the last 2 months, it was absolute hell. Like just it was really tough.
Mhm.
And he will call me every night just saying like, hey, I'm gonna be okay to go to your graduation. That's the main thing I want to do. And the doctor saw him pretty much like, hey, you can't travel to the United States. You're like, it's just too much for you. It's too much stress on your body. Um, and I mean, he's always been such a like strong mindset person. Like, I mean, he found energy where he didn't have it, and he made the trip. He told my mom like, I'm gonna make it. Like you know, it's not a question, like I'm gonna be there for my son. And yeah, he was obviously very sick. It was very emotional to see him like that. Like obviously it wasn't like the person that I remember him
Yep.
from 6 months. It just kind of like it just snowballed so quick, the disease. He had a brain tumor, so it also like affects like, you know, his movements, stuff like the way he was acting stuff. But yeah, like he always kept such a good, even though he was sick, such a like positive mindset about everything. Like he wouldn't complain. And I mean, just looking back, just remember seeing my dad at his worst and still like looking forward to things and being so like happy about things. And it just kind of like in my worst days, I just remember that it just like, you know, be like him.
Hmm.
Like everybody goes through moments like this, and he just, you know, I'm sorry, man, I'm choking up right now.
No,
Uh,
listen, like I completely understand. I mean, my dad literally passed like a month ago, and he's exactly like your dad. Never
yeah,
complains, always happy. And I mean, he broke his hip, and then his Parkinson's and dementia just got like way too bad. It was got so bad that he went to hospice and passed away. And like,
yeah,
it's crazy seeing, you know, your dad being this like really strong person, and then all of a sudden
hmm
like see him towards the end. And like I didn't and like I had to come back to Georgia because they're up in Massachusetts. And so that whole month he was in hospice and pretty much like dying away. I you know, only saw him through FaceTime.
yeah,
And so it was
yeah,
hard, and just like saying like, Dad, I love you, and like I'd still lose it too. Like I was listening to a podcast the other day and this guy was talking about his dad, and I was like I was on my way to work and I was just like an emotional wreck because like it's
hmm
just like crazy like how like a lot of people like feel the same way. And
yeah,
then my other thing is I've said this before, but it's like you always think you have enough time to spend with that person, but you don't. But there's like never enough time. So it just
absolutely. And in some ways, it was, you know, a blessing that I was able to be with him
mhm,
during his last
absolutely.
days. So the day I was actually the day of my graduation was the day that he had like, you know, kind of like his worst day. We had to go to the hospital, 911, you know, the ambulance and all that, like the day of my graduation. And obviously it was like I remember walking down the aisle, like everybody like so happy to like be there. And like my dad told me, like, you still like have to go, you know, like you can't miss it. Obviously, like he couldn't be there at that moment. And all I could think was like, you know, like my biggest dream will be having my dad here. And I remember kind of like crying the whole time. Nobody knew like what was happening. Only my friend that was next to me, like she knew what I was going through at the moment. That my dad was admitted in the hospital that same day. And it was such a tough day, which was supposed to be like, you know, such a like awesome, you know, finally I got
Mhm.
my master's degree. And I remember right after that, he got surgery, he got a little better. And I remember thinking like, okay, you know, like I gotta live my life too and like do things to, you know, also like as I said, like make him proud. So I always wanted to like get my business started, but at that point I kind of thought like I need to, you know, get at least like something to get me started, like a 9 to 5. I applied for a couple of jobs and I got this position real quick. And I remember going the first day, and I was there from 9 to 5, first day of the job, and all I could think is, you know, my dad is at home right now, right? And first day goes by, and then I go back the second day, another long day, 9 to 5, missing my dad's appointments. My mom doesn't speak English. And after a third day, I remember going back home and just crying. Like I just
Yeah.
couldn't do it anymore. And
Mhm.
I called the person that was like my supervisor, like the boss, and I told her everything, just like I just can't do it anymore. I need to be with my dad. I feel like at this point, like I just want to spend as much time as possible with him.
Absolutely.
And she understood where I was coming from. And the day after, her just kind of like what am I gonna do now, right? And how life works, just crazy. I went to eat at it's like a food truck type of deal, but it's very, very like famous in Florida. It got like number three in Florida in 2016, so it's always packed. And I knew the owner for years, so I'm there. He's like, "What are you doing now? You know, like, good to see you. What's going on with life?" And I kind of told him about my dad, and I was like, "Yeah, you know, I'm trying to find things to do." And he's like, "Wait, didn't you go to school for like, you know, social media stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I've been thinking about, you know, having somebody to help me with social media management. Like, I have nobody to
Yep.
like, you know, help me." And
Hmm.
I'm like, "Dude, that's right, like down my alley. Like, I love doing that. That's what I went to school for, you know, business management, social media." And he's like, "Let's sit down tomorrow. Can you come at 10 a.m.?" I'm like, "Sure." And I remember going there and just kind of like, "Hey, yeah, let's get started, you know." And it was just such a like mind-blowing like thing. Like, I literally just quit my job and I got this awesome opportunity to like just literally start my business right now in like social media management. And I got started. First week went great. The gym I was going to, that I'm still going to, it's called Make Athletics. They saw what I was doing there and they were like, "Hey, you know, I we love it too." Like, and they gave me the same opportunity. I started running the social media management, the social media for my gym, that the food truck, and then from there things kind of like start snowballing. And I had I like a meal prep company. I had a physical therapist. Like, I had like five clients within like 2 months.
That's
And it
awesome.
was it was such a like great like opportunity. I was able to be with my dad for like most of the day. Like, if he had a doctor's appointment, I would go with him. Like, it was working from home doing stuff that I love. So it's just crazy how life works. To like, you know, if my dad wouldn't have been in that position that he was, who knows, maybe I would have stayed with my 9 to 5. Um, and you know, he always told me like, you do things that you love doing. You follow with somebody who works so hard to like get things, you'll figure it out. You know, if you don't enjoy doing the 9 to 5, like your normal job, like, try something different, you know. And
Hmm.
worst thing can happen, you can find another job eventually, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. And from there, I mean, it's been a great journey since.
That's awesome. So, when did like videography and like photography come about for you? Because like you take some awesome pictures and you've worked with a lot of people. Well, we'll go about that like later. But when did you start being like, okay, photography is kind of my jam, and then like making videos is like, okay, I got this too.
Yeah. Um, so in college, I always liked doing, like, every time we had a project that requires, like, you know, recording videos and some type of editing, I'll be the one. The group will be like, "Hey, let me do it." Obviously, very, very like beginner iMovie, just kind of like a GoPro.
Hey, don't
But
knock it. I still use that stuff, so don't knock it. So
No, I mean, I'm actually, I'll talk to you about a GoPro. I'm thinking about buying the new one. It's gonna get released soon for a trip that I have coming up. It's great,
nice, nice.
but I mean, the GoPro 3 wasn't that good.
Okay,
Uh,
okay, I got you.
and so I always had that, like, you know, I always liked creating videos, and like, I remember always like taking photos with my phone. I loved editing, but I never like actually thought like in my wildest dreams that I was gonna be a photographer or a videographer. But when the whole social media thing started, I remember thinking, there's a lot of people are trying to do the same thing. What can I do different that's gonna like put me apart from the rest? There's a lot of people that can manage social media. They're really good at, like, you know, creating a community, good engagement. But what's something I can do that a client's gonna be like, "Hey, you're gonna be the one, right?" And I just one day I just decided, "Hey, I'm gonna buy a camera and I'm gonna watch hours and hours of YouTube until I know how to, you know, work this camera, and then I'm gonna start taking photos, and that's gonna put me apart from the competition." And that's how I got started. Literally just taking pictures of tacos, like the food truck, taking photos of the meal prep company, then the obviously the gym. I started taking photos at the gym I was going to. Um, and that's kind of how my CrossFit photography career got started. Just literally just taking photos of my friends, trying to learn, and just create like a new area behind my social media management business that I can also provide, photography and videography services.
Very cool. So, so speaking about YouTube, who are your favorite YouTubers that you watch religiously when it comes to like video and like photography?
Yeah. So I've always been a very technical like shooter per se, and I think it's because I used to watch a lot this guy called Gerald Ondon.
I've never heard of him.
He's I think he's pretty famous, but not like a Peter McKinnon type of dude. But he's one of those that will grab a lens and then he will tell you everything about it. Like he'll break it down to a point of like the color shift, like distortion, like all things that people actually don't see, like your eye cannot see, but somebody that's very like proficient at shooting, they can see the differences. So I'll watch videos of him like all day. I remember I was pretty obsessed with this guy. His name is Daniel Schiffer. He will make this like very cinematic B-rolls and stuff like that, and I'll just find it like so cool. I'm like, I gotta learn how to do this, and just random YouTubers, like literally just searching what's ISO, and then the first one that pops up, and then seeing like, oh my God, like yeah, I'm starting to understand.
Hmm.
And I mean, honestly, completely obsessed with the process of learning. Like countless of hours just shooting, going outside with friends, like shooting and coming back, seeing my footage. Oh, it looks like trash. Let's do it again tomorrow. Editing and that's kind of how I got started. Literally, just self-taught in some ways. Obviously, YouTube is kind of like the place that got me started.
So were you like a Casey Neistat guy or Peter McKinnon guy?
Well, Casey, I will watch some of his videos, but I never got super into it. I love what he does, by the way, like nothing against him, but there's some type of like people that really like make you feel more like, I want to watch this guy. Peter McKinnon, definitely, all his videos for sure. And actually, we share a lot of like common things, like interest in like music. If you
Hmm.
see all the stuff that happened in the background, it's some like his favorite bands too. Like we listened to the same stuff growing up, and like his hero growing up is my hero growing up. Actually, I'm gonna show you something real quick. He's creating a documentary for a band called Angels and Airways, and he's
Yep.
like
I used to, I
yeah,
bought their first CDs. They were a
yeah,
great band. Yeah.
his hero like that now they're friends is Tom DeLonge, and I actually got to photograph like their tour last year, so I
Oh,
have
sick.
some prints of like him on tour, which is it's super cool. Like that's one of the reasons why I'm like, Peter McKinnon is definitely I felt more connected with him because of his like more like his hobbies and the things he liked more than like the stuff he was putting out there. Just one of those guys that you watch and you're like, okay, he looks like a cool dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I will watch all of them. There's another one. His name is Manny something. I forgot his last name, but he's the one that pretty much got me to buy the Sony. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go with this Sony because this guy is like he was like an ambassador at the time and loved it, and kind of like people just influencing the things that you purchase. But I mean, it's such a good cool place to like find everything you need and it's free,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's how I learned how to do Olympic weightlifting and stuff like that. Just pretty much
Mm,
just watching a YouTube video because I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm like, oh, let me watch this and like watch how they do it and like how they break it down. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I got it. Yeah. So I
yeah,
love YouTube. Like I really don't watch like TV shows. I don't want like it's just all YouTube and
yeah,
just like learning the whole process and all that stuff and all that jazz. But yeah, so you said you're currently working at Mako, like not Mako, but you're training at Mako Fitness.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
how did CrossFit come about with you?
My senior year of college with the whole golf thing, I remember like just I needed something different. Obviously, I was talking about like me being burnout.
Hmm.
And one of my best friends, he was telling me for probably a year, hey, you should come train with me to Mako because I always like working out. I will be the only one at the golf team that will try to like lift heavy weights. And I remember talking to our strength and conditioning coach, like, hey, teach me Olympic lifting. And he taught me. Big shout out to Coach Sear. This guy just kind of like got me started in the whole like weightlifting area. And and I remember always being like, CrossFit, I don't know if I want to do it. Like I'm already working out with a team and like some extra time with a strength and conditioning coach helping me. And then I remember one day just watching like one of the movies that it was pretty
Hmm.
cool because I was in one of my podcast episodes with Heber Cannon, and I was telling him the story that I actually watched one of his movies, and that kind of like influenced my like it just changed my way of like viewing CrossFit and being like I just remember watching that. I'm like, what is this? Like it looks so freaking cool. Everybody like the community looks awesome. And I remember texting my buddy like, yo, let's get started. Let's do it tomorrow. At what time are you going? He's like 6 a.m. All right, I'll be there. And I remember walking to Mako, um, walking in and I see the banners. It says Brandon Massey Regionals. And I'm like, oh my God, there is somebody that's really good here. Right. Like you see like the banners and stuff.
Hmm.
And I see this guy walking with a hoodie, 6 a.m. You can tell he was morning. It's early for him.
Yeah, yeah.
Walks in, swole dude, hoodie, huge beard. Hey dude, what's up? How are you doing? New here? Yeah. Hey, I'm the owner. Nice to meet you, Brandon. Brandon Massey. I'm like, oh my God. This is the dude, the guy with the banners. And I remember my first workout ever was Elizabeth. And dude, I had the time of my life. It was such a great experience. That first class, it was kind of like literally one of those experiences that you do and you never look back.
Hmm.
And that was 2016, early 16. And I mean, since then I don't think I've trained less than 3 to 4 times a week ever. Oh, unless I'm traveling or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Brandon was such a, and still is, by the way, such an influential person in my life. He was a person that kind of like got me started as a coach. Like he also trained me to be a coach at Mako. I coached 3 years of my life, while I was also getting started with my business, part-time. Very influential person. And everybody in the staff that I'm still, they're my best friends.
Hmm.
Everybody there, Kyle, Brandon. I mean, I'm not gonna start mentioning names because I'm gonna forget one, and then, but everybody in
Then
the
they'll get
staff,
mad. Yeah.
yeah, everybody in the staff. Like, I mean, I was just hanging out with them a couple hours ago, and we're still really good friends. And it's one of those, one of that, like the community that have been supporting you since the beginning, and they're so proud of like see like it just blows my mind to see like their support through the years, and then just like sitting down sometimes like we're at dinner and they're just kind of like tell me like how proud they are of like everything like that I've accomplished, and they don't like to take any credit, but in reality they were such an influential person, such influential like you know so people in my life that just pushed me always to like gave me so many opportunities that in some way that's one of the reasons why I'm where I'm at.
Nice. So, when you were taking pictures at the gym and stuff like that, when did you get like some notification and be like, maybe somebody else would be like, hey, I want you to take pictures of me. Like, when can you come over and stuff like that?
Yeah. So, gosh, it's so crazy how things get started. It's just absolutely wild. Um, I remember, so we have a pretty big competition here in Pensacola. It's called the Beach Brawl. That actually it just ended this past week, and it was the 11th Beach Brawl,
Oh, nice.
and my sixth, I think, number six. So it was this local competition, and the owner of the competition used to own Mako in the past. Like he was the one that opened it, and I think it was 2012, and then he sold it, but he still owned Beach Roll, and I was kind of like friends with him, and I knew him. Actually, I knew him. I wasn't really friends with him, and I remember just talking to him like, "Hey Ty," his name is Ty Hansen, by the way. Hey Ty, please, dude, like give me an opportunity to be on the media team, complete volunteer. I just want to go to the floor. If it's just like, if it's for 1 hour, I just want to be there and try to like photograph some competition, some of the competition. Give me a second. Somebody's sending me a bunch of messages. I'm
Yeah, you're
gonna
good.
mute them real quick. It just in my ears like, bang, bang. All right, mute. There you go. Perfect. All right, we're good. So and Ty was like, like I was pretty new at it. And then he's like, okay, like he gave me the opportunity to be on the floor, complete rookie. Like I look at my photos back then, and obviously, like all over the place, composition wasn't there. I was cropping heads, feet, like, but it was a great start. It's a huge competition, 1,500 athletes. And it was like a huge highlight for me just to be there and like learn from the actual media team
Hmm.
that was there, which people that I to this day I still look up to them. And from there just kind of got started. I'm like, like I really enjoy this. And then one of the physical therapists that I was managing his social media, he started working with WordPrep, which is his name is Ben Tuwolski.
Yep, I know exactly.
WordPrep.
He's been on
Yeah.
my podcast. Yeah, great
Oh,
dude.
really? Great
Yeah.
dude. I love Ben. And he's the physical therapist. His name is CJ. Now he's like he's Ben's right hand. He pretty much manages everything in WordPrep.
Hmm.
And he's like, hey, I just started working with Ben Siwolski from WordPrep, and we have a couple of masters athletes going to the CrossFit Games. I'm telling you, this was a week before the CrossFit Games. He's like, we need somebody to take photos. I'm like, CJ, I don't know. I mean, I barely know how to take a photo. He's like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Like, we'll pay for your trip, for your stay. Just come with us, try your best. I'm like, CJ, my longest lens is an 85. He's like, we'll rent some for you. So I've never at that point never used a zoom lens or anything. And we rent one. I put it on, like, how does this thing work? Just YouTubing again, like YouTube, just trying to
Hmm.
figure out how to work these things. And I remember first day there with my A7 III, just absolutely scared. Everybody with big cameras, rogue, blah blah, and I'm just there like, what am I doing here? Like I don't belong here. First thing we shoot at that point, that was 2019. So they did the huge ceremony, all international, 100
Yep.
something countries. And they go United States, and I see Camille LeBlanc walking by, and I've always been a huge fan. I'm like, oh, look, Camille. Boom, take a photo of Camille. And I post it on my Instagram. And then I start getting messages, like bunch of people messaging me. I'm like, what's going on? Everybody, oh my God, Camille reshared, like she posted your photo. You got the photo credits. Oh my God. And I'm like, wait, what's going on? Like it's just such a mind. I didn't know how to work a camera in reality. I mean, I had an idea, but
Hmm.
it wasn't really. And at that point, I was kind of like, okay, I might have something here, like there might be something that I can work with. And it was such a cool experience. Obviously I was there as a rookie, just learning, taking photos of my favorite athletes and obviously the WOD prep athletes. And by the end of the week, there was a lot of like nice comments, like people like, "Whoa, like I love your work," like kind of like thinking that I've been doing it for a while, and that kind of like made me realize like I might have something special that I could, use this in some ways in the future, just to, like expand to like more areas. And I remember going back and all my friends like proud of me, like, dude, I can't believe like you went to the games. Again, complete luck. It was just right moment, right time, knowing the right people. And I took that opportunity to the max, man. I just connected as much as I could. Um, I remember reaching out to a bunch of brands, sending my work, and then from there, things kind of like started snowballing, and that's pretty much how it got started
Very
with
cool. Very cool.
my
That's awesome. Yeah. So
career.
I can't imagine you be like, oh, your work's amazing. Like I've only been doing this for 2 weeks, and they're like,
Yeah.
what?
Well, at that point, I've been shooting for about a year, but
Well, yeah,
never,
okay.
never like anything, to the point of like such a big event,
Hmm.
right? But yeah, I mean, I remember complete rookie. I didn't know. I mean, oh my God, I just remember looking at people like the way they were holding the camera and being like, okay, that's how they hold it, because I didn't want to be that guy like,
Yeah.
holding in a weird way. And those are things I remember. I remember being like, oh, he's taking a vertical photo. And then I will go to their Instagram account and see the way they compose it. I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna try that tomorrow. Just, I mean, full on rookie
Hmm.
at the CrossFit Games. And knowing that at the end of the week, like some people were reaching out to me like, yo, like I love your work, like your colors were very nice, I love the composition. I'm like, wow, like let's keep doing this.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So were like anybody on the media team, like were they like everyone, like, I mean, it must be like a CrossFit community. Like everyone's pretty nice to each other and they help each other out. Was that like your first thing with the CrossFit games?
Yeah, for sure, that was the first time. I mean, I went there to shoot for Wild Prep, so I wasn't shooting specifically for any like
Yeah.
big brands or anything. But yeah, I met so many awesome people that I'm still friends with. I remember meeting Steven Stover, which is one of my best friends the CrossFit community and just connecting right away. And I mean, a lot of the just so many people are still shooting to this day, and it's just awesome to see how we've come such a long way from 2019, that a lot of us was our first year ever shooting, because it was the first time like they gave access to most of the media,
Hmm.
and to the point that now we are shooting, you know, like big names in the industry, and we have a pretty good reputation, and you know, in the photography, videography business, and you know, the industry, the sports industry. And that's why it's just so important for me to, you know, kind of like give back to those people that need it. Like I answer every DM that I get, asking me about questions, stuff like that. Even though it's like the most stupid question, I was there at some point in my life. I would ask, like, I was one of those that would reach out to people in the DMs all the time. You know,
Hmm.
I was the annoying dude like asking questions. And I remember the specific people that helped me, and then they were so influential, and I have so much respect to them up to date, that I remember thinking like at one point in my life, I want to be that guy that somebody will reach out to me and I'll give back my knowledge. And I don't see it as a threat, because we all start somewhere, and if in some way they get my clients, they deserve it. They did something I didn't do, and you know, I never see it as a threat. And I talk about it in my podcast all the time, and it's been such a beautiful experience to connect even you know, bigger audience, and having so many people reach out to me asking for questions and stuff, and
Hmm.
just being in the point that I was in 2019, and then seeing some of those people that were asking me questions whenever they were brand new, to now starting to get clients. For example, Jordan Levi, I mean, he got his first big opportunity at the games this year, and I was like, almost like tears in my eyes, just to know that, you know, some guy that would like tell me like, oh, I look up to you, and then I see his work, it's beautiful. He will watch like every episode of my podcast, and really awesome. And so many other people that I'm starting to see now, they're being more relevant, and just because, you know, like it just hard work. There's no other way to put it, right? Like
Hmm.
they have goals, they know what to do, connect with people, ask questions, and then just work hard.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I see people that try to get the easy route, and they don't make it. And it's when you realize that in some way everybody can do this. It just, if you put your mind to it. And I'm big on like visualizing stuff, like manifesting and connections, that I feel like everybody can get to a point that a lot of us are right now.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So, this past year, you've worked with CrossFit Mayhem. Well, I call him the Mayhem Empire.
Empire, yeah.
Yeah. um, so how did you get involved with those guys? And I know you've been like filming that crew for I think a couple years, right?
It's been since the 2021 games.
Okay.
So since last year, yeah. And again, connections, it's such a there's another cool story. So talking back to about Beach Bro, in 2020, it was the first time that I was like more of a media director. So I was in charge of hiring people.
Hmm.
And I remember talking to Ty Henson, the owner. I was like, hey, Ty, we need one more person. I don't think the team, it's, you know, we need one more guy. And he's like, hey, buddy, we don't have a budget. It needs to be somebody that's like volunteer, complete volunteer. And I'm like, oh my God, it's really hard to find somebody that it's gonna be good enough and volunteer. But at the same time, like I'm always down for that opportunity, right? Because that's where I started. And literally talking to Ty 5 minutes after, I get a DM from this guy called Bennett Looper. He's um he's like, hey man, just wanted to let you know that I'm low key obsessed with your work. I love what you do, and it's so cool to see that you're also from Pensacola. And I'm like, okay, kind of like, you know, I was talking to Ty about volunteer, and then I see, let me see what's going on. I click on his profile, and I'm like, wow, you know, like this guy, he just started shooting, and you can tell right away when somebody has something special, like his eyes different, like the composition was beautiful, the colors were good, shooting with a camera that wasn't the best camera, and
Hmm.
just creating beautiful work. And I don't think I even said anything other than like, hey dude, thanks so much, I appreciate it. I random question, but I just saw your work, And I can probably go back to the DMs and look at it. I just saw your work, and I actually, I actually really enjoy your work. I love it, and you were just telling me that you enjoy my CrossFit photography, and honestly, we have the Pensacola Beach Pro in a couple of weeks, and if you want to volunteer, I'm down. I'm down to like help you out, get up there and shooting with me on the floor, because I think he mentioned something like, "Hey, if you ever get, if you ever need anybody, just let me know." And his reaction, we still talk to about it to this day. Like, he was with me shooting beach ball this year 2 days ago. His reaction today was like, he almost thought it was like a lie, like, what's going on, like, really? It's just how things work, right?
Yep.
And we're talking about it a couple of days ago with everybody, the whole media team on the beach. We were kind of like, talking about our experiences and feels. It was like late, the water, you can hear the water. We were all pretty emotional, and Bennett was talking about that. It's such a cool experience. He shoots beach ball, first time ever shooting CrossFit competition. Beautiful work. I mean, as expected, like, I knew he was gonna do really good. And something very special about him, he's such a like a team player. Like, always, hey, do you need anything? This, that. You can tell right away when somebody really wants to help, when somebody wants to like move the business forward.
Hmm.
And he was one of those guys. Super kind dude, like, biggest heart ever. And that's how he got started. A couple of months after that, he calls me, hey dude, somebody that I know just told me that CrossFit Mayhem opened a position for like a video producer. I think I'm gonna apply. I'm like, dude, yes, you should, because you, like, your personality really matches theirs. I feel like your personality is very family oriented. You're a team player, and I know that's something that they will like. And he tells me, hey, do you know a guy called Rory McKernan? I'm like, yeah, I know Rory. Like, I've seen his stuff for a while. I didn't know him personally, but I've seen his stuff for a while, and I'm a huge fan, obviously, of Rory. And he's like, he really didn't know who he was. He's like, can you write a recommendation letter for me? I'm like, absolutely, dude, I would love to. So I wrote this beautiful letter. I mean, straight from my heart, like, no lies, just, hey, Rory, this is Carlos. Have had the pleasure to work with Bennett in the past. I think he's somebody that's very special, not only because of his photography skills or videography skills, but also as a person. Like, I've just by working with him for a couple of hours, I knew that he was going to be somebody special. And if you want me to be that honest, like, I just think that there's nobody at this point that will match what you guys are looking for more than Bennett. Um, I mean, obviously, a lot of different things. I'm talking about like his faith and family, and
Hmm.
how important all that is for him. And it's also something that really matches their community. And then from there, I got connected with Rory. He calls me, just asking me more questions. Kind of like mind blowing to hear his voice. Um, and he's like, "Hey, nice to meet you. My name is Rory." I'm like, "Yeah, I know who you are." Uh, and he loved the letter, and he told me that Bennett went for a visit, and they really liked him, and he wanted to, like, thank me for writing the letter, and kind of like, putting the first, like, putting him out there, like, hey, this is Bennett, and I know he's the one,
Hmm.
right? And it was super cool. Really, really, he really appreciated the letter, and he knew Bennett was going to be a good fit right away. And then he gets there, and the same, he gets hired, and the first week that he was shooting for Mayhem was the Mac from last year. So
Oh,
it's straight
jeez.
straight to the fire, like, right
Yep.
away.
Yep.
And I mean, as I was expecting, like, performed incredible. Like, everybody in the team loved him. um Obviously, still, a little shy on like some things that now he's really good at. But I mean, it's just such a big, like, first experience. Like, hey, I'm the new guy, and this is what I can do. Everybody was mind blown.
Hmm.
And from there, I mean, that was right before the CrossFit Games, and I remember talking to Ben, and he's like, "Hey, they were asking about somebody that can go with us, like somebody else that can take photos. We're looking for a photographer, and we don't have anybody right now because all of them focus mostly on video." And I'm like, dude, I mean, if you can put my name out there, I would love to. And then a couple of days after that, I think, I get another call from Rory. He's like, hey, like, Bennett, put your name out there. Like, obviously, like we saw your work, and everybody from the team like really liked it. We would like to have you a part of like the crew.
Hmm.
I mean, for me, it was like how does things like that happen in life? Like somebody like Rich Froning that I've been looking up to since the day I started even before I started CrossFit. I remember watching some of his videos, and man, I mean, looking back to it, it's just mind blowing. Just to the opportunities that you get, and how life works. And obviously, I get the opportunity. Rory's like, "Hey, are you ready?" Like, yeah, let's do it. Get another call with the social media manager, and her name is Jen for the Acre, and she's like, "Hey, how good are you with like fast turnaround, like to post?" I'm like, "I've been doing that for a couple of years at Beach Bro and stuff, so
Yeah.
I'm good at it. I don't like to like brag about it, but I'm very fast, very good at like what you want." And that's how I met them. Literally, first day at the CrossFit Games. Hey Scott, hey Ben, my name is Carlos. First time meeting Rory, and I mean the rest is kind of history from there. I've been to pretty much all their big competitions. It's such a great group to work with. It's such a like it's like a big family. I always say it. It's like I remember first day there, I go to the RV where the whole Mayhem family is there, like everybody that you see on the videos. I mean, it's like 30 people, and they were all so cool. Like they knew I was the new guy, and they're like, so like nice to me. And by the end of the week, it was like I felt like I was a part of the family.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So, I have one question. So I've never met Rich, and obviously you have. So for the people that listen that haven't really interacted with him, what is Rich like? Like obviously like when he's in competition, he's laser focused, but like, he's very business savvy and he seems like a very like low key kind of guy, but like I kind of want to get what like you think like, your experience with him.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's been great. As you said, it's business savvy. It's somebody I've been looking up to, not only for the way he is as as an athlete, but also as a businessman and like family and all that. So obviously meeting him the first time is kind of like I remember him getting out of the truck, and I was like, whoa, like that's Rich Froning, and I'm introducing myself. He's like, "Hey Carlos, nice to meet you. Yeah, so cool, man. Thank you for being here." And I'm like, kind of like everything's like shaking in my head, like I don't know what to say. I'm like, yeah, 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 thank you. Super cool dude. Day one. I mean, I remember the second day that we shot a little bit that day, and then the second day I get there, and he's like, "What's up, Carlos?" And I'm like, "Oh, he remembers my name. I mean, that's a good start." He's like, "Hey, man, from what I've seen so far, the photos are so good, man. Like, I appreciate it." I'm like, "Dude, I mean, just imagine the feeling of not only be because of being rich, but somebody that you're working with or working for, and like he remembers your name and also gives you like a positive reinforcement after that. Like, hey, we enjoy what we see so far." It
Hmm.
was such a like a cool experience, and the whole week, really cool dude. Every time he like, like I needed something there, like he will be very like he's not an athlete at that point. Whenever he's in the RV camp with everybody else, he's just another person.
Hmm.
He's not Rich Froning. He's just Hillary's husband, his a father, a friend, and he was very cool. And he's very cool to everybody in in the like the Mayhem family, the Mayhem Empire. So that was definitely something that I was like, okay, cool. Like, I like being around this kind of people, to the point that one of my best friends, Jason, he's a firefighter, and Rich had that's his background, firefighter. And Jason, like his dream is always being like, get like a signature. And I tell Rich, like, hey, I tell the story of like Jason, firefighter, huge fan. And he goes to the RV real quick, and he grabs a brand new white shirt,
Oh,
and
sick.
he signs it. He's like, "How do you spell Jason?" And I'm like, Jason. And he signs, for Jason. Thanks for support. Huge signature, Rich Froning. And
Sick.
I'm like, Jason's gonna die. And then we're talking. I'm like, "Dude, he's gonna die." And I'm talking about him, like the video, and he's like, I'm like, "Can we record a video?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." And he grabs the phone with the shirt. He's like, "Hey, Jason, just wanted to let you know that I really appreciate the support. come visit us in Cookville. Hope to see you soon, man. Thanks for your support. I mean, for Jason, that was like the highlight of his life. It's such a cool experience for him, and obviously for me as a friend, I was like, I couldn't wait to show him that. And it's just the little things that just makes you realize, like, at the end of the day, we're all the same. We're all people, and the what some people see of like famous people are not actually what, like, obviously Rich is somebody that even in like the famous world, a lot of people look up to him as a
Hmm.
person. But just overall, like, you can never like assume if this person it's like cocky or like, oh, he's a bad dude because he said this. At the end of the day, like, we're all people, and whenever you're around like your family, that's when you're gonna actually act the way that you are. And it's been great. And with honestly everybody that I've met in the CrossFit community, I think it's a community. They're just very, very family oriented and very supportive.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So I know, filming and taking pictures at the CrossFit Games is very, very tiring because I saw a couple posts at like day 4. You were sitting down like the bench. You're like, don't even ask me if I'm tired.
Yeah.
Can you kind of go over like at least like one day of like what you have to do as a videographer and slash photographer for like, Mayhem?
Yeah, so my task for the past 2 years with Mayhem's been photography only. They have their video crew, which is Scott, Ben, and Bennett, and I'm the only one that does photos. So obviously it's a big responsibility because this year we had, I think it was 16 or 17 individual athletes,
Hmm.
three big teams, which was Independence, Freedom, and oh my God, I can't believe I forgot.
Oh, freedom, independence, and oh my gosh, I forget it too. I literally
And
just
I
saw I
mean,
just saw it too.
my good friend Ben is a part of that team, so I'm super embarrassed right now. He actually, the one of the media guys, he was a part of the team, which is super cool. Freedom, Independence, and anyways, I remember in a minute. I'll let you know. So many teams. So it's super. Obviously, it's a big responsibility. It's something that I know and I take very serious. Um, so I know that it's gonna be a tough week or a tough 5 days, but I know that it's gonna be really worth it if I just put my all into it. And obviously, like, every morning you wake up like tired and everything, but then just to go with like day by day, like, we wake up early in the morning and it's just shooting the whole day, pretty much shooting. For me, I work very close to Jen, the social media manager. So after I'm done shooting, sometimes I go back to the Mayhem booth, do some editing for her to post right away, back to the competition floor. But as I'm saying this, that it's like the most tiring week of your life, it's also the most emotional, awesome. You meet so many cool content creators,
Hmm.
people that you share like the same passion, people that like they become like your family, your brothers, your sisters. Like, it just kind of like you become like a part of them. And you meet them right there whenever you're like sweaty and like running around, and then you have 5 minutes to talk to them. And it's such a cool experience. Like, I wouldn't change it for anything. Just 3 hours of sleep every night, 3 4 hours of sleep. You're tired in the morning, and then by the end of the day, you're in this like high, like, wow, that was awesome. And by the end of the week, it's such a cool experience. Um, Again, like, we all know whenever we go there, that's gonna be very tough, but it's gonna be probably the most rewarding week of our year.
Very cool. Very cool. So, you've done pretty much like semifinals and like other competitions in the games. What out of like all of them, which one is your favorite competition to shoot for?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, one that came straight to my mind right now was Granny Games.
Okay.
The reason why, it's because it was a little bit different than the rest. I shot the semifinals for Mayhem. Granny Games, they didn't have anybody, so they didn't send a team. Um, my friend Richard Bloomer, he's a videographer for CrossFit. He also he does some stuff for Tier Sport.
Hmm.
And he reaches out to me. He's like, "Hey, dude, Tier reached out to me that they need somebody to do video, and I've seen your video stuff. I really enjoy it. So I gave them your name. Would that be something that you're interested in?" I'm like, absolutely. Like, actually, I don't have any plans right now to go to Granite, so I would love to. A week after that, the marketing director reaches out to me, and she's like, full confidence. Like she's never probably never seen any of my work. She's like, hey, you got a recommendation from Richard Bloomer. Like we trust him. Like, do you want to do it? I'm like, it's such a good experience, like such a good opportunity for me because I've always done photo stuff for Mayhem, but I know that I can do video and I enjoy doing video,
Hmm.
but I've never had that opportunity to like show everybody what I can do. When it comes, obviously, I have a lot of stuff on my like weddings page and real estate and stuff, but not in CrossFit. And it was such a great opportunity. I went there with, the same mentality, like it's gonna be tough, but I'm gonna put my 100% into it and I'm gonna do the best I can. And just because of the fact that it was like that first opportunity to make videos, the first opportunity to like show people like, hey, like I've been working so hard in this specific area that I want to show like the world more like what I can do when
Hmm.
it comes to videography. And it was, I mean, it was such a great experience. The venue was beautiful. The workouts were really fun. The other content creators that were there, it was a great experience. Long nights. I was up until 3 to 4 a.m.
Oh, goodness.
Editing, and I wouldn't change it for anything. It was such a great experience, and it's one of those competitions that I felt very proud of myself after that. It was
Hmm.
such a rewarding experience, like because I knew that it was gonna be new, something new that I've never done, and I was very happy with the stuff that I made.
Very cool. Very cool. Um, I have so much more to talk to you about.
Hey,
Um,
we can. I have no
okay.
no
Okay.
limits. We
All
can
right.
keep.
All right. Cool. So you started a podcast.
Yeah.
So what was the whole idea of your podcast and like what like and who do you typically interview?
Yeah. So it's just one of those moments that you're like, one of those weeks that you're like, gosh, like I feel like I'm doing everything just so repetitive. I'm waking up, I have, I go to the shoots that I have to do, a lot of editing, a lot of like very like the content creation world is very lonely in some ways because you're shooting stuff, you go back, you edit, you're really not interacting. I mean, if you're a freelancer, just like a business owner in this, like you're pretty much just doing everything yourself.
Hmm.
And I just remember thinking for like a week or two, just every night I almost like couldn't sleep. Just I need to find something different that's gonna like drive me or motivate me to some completely different, something that's gonna be out of my comfort zone, that's gonna challenge me and that's gonna in some ways can like either impact me in some ways or hopefully like impact other people. And I don't know how it came, like I don't know the idea, like what happened, but I just remember thinking, oh, what if I start a podcast? I mean, why not? It's something that in a million years I would have ever done because like now I feel like really comfortable because I've done this for a little while. But being in front of a camera, talking to somebody live or no, like absolutely not. I've never been somebody that feels comfortable doing so. And I was like, I mean, it's gonna be definitely a challenge. So let's do it. I remember once I got the idea, I remember, okay, names. Now I gotta find a name. Uh Something with content because I want to have people, our content creators are gonna share their journey, their experiences, pretty much what we're doing right now, just sharing stuff that hopefully somebody's gonna see and they're gonna be like, I'm at that spot that he was in 2019,
Hmm.
where he was a complete rookie, and now he's, in a completely different stage. So I'm like content. I remember searching like cool names for nothing matches. And then out of nowhere, content lab. Okay, content lab. Yeah, I mean it's kind of like it just kind of like catchy. I'm like, I'm gonna go with that. And then I was like, I know if I don't do like if I don't take action right now, tomorrow I'm gonna wake up in the morning, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's a dumb idea. I'm not gonna do it. And that same day, I contact Matt Sousa, which is Savan's producer.
Hmm.
And I'm like, hey, dude, we've been talking for a little while. I'm like, hey, dude, I want to do this and this. He's like, oh, dude, I'll help you out for sure. He kind of like helped me out to get started, like, the streaming platform. He gave me all the tips. I called my buddy Ariel Martinez. I'm like, hey, dude, I just had this crazy idea of like starting a podcast because he does a pretty big film podcast. Full support. He's like, dude, here's what I recommend you to this, this, this. like the same day I went on B&H, I bought like the Rode Procaster, some lights and stuff. I did everything the same day because I knew that it was a good idea, but it was one of those ideas that I'm gonna overthink if I don't take action.
Hmm.
And I literally got started the day after. I was already contacting some content creators. I contact my buddy Scott Vandersloot, which is one of the Mayhem Media guys. I'm like, hey, I want you to be the first guest of this crazy idea that I have right now, that I know it's gonna be really terrible the first couple of episodes because I'm really uncomfortable at this. But I know it's gonna be awesome in some way in the future. We did it first episode. I still have it up, but I'm never gonna go back and listen to it because it's probably painful. He did awesome, by the way. Scott did so great. But I mean, I was nervous. It was pretty bad. But it's a part of, like, it's everything in life.
Oh yeah,
Like the first time
absolutely.
you do something, it's everything in life. And I remember being on episode 4, and I went to Vermont to shoot some stuff for Matt Fraser, and I'm talking to Sammy, which is Matt's wife, and she episode 2, or I think episode 3, I had Eric Castaños, which is their like marketing, not marketing, like how you call it, like director of media, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
And I go to the car, like she picks me up, and first thing she says, she's like, "I love your episode with Eric. It was really awesome." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." Like I'm getting some, positive feedback from
Yeah, yeah.
Sammy. And we're talking that same night, and I'm talking to her about like how I don't feel still comfortable doing the episodes, and it just kind of like nerve-wracking. And she starts like telling me some quotes from, I think it's Ira Glass. I think it's
Okay.
the person. And it's such a great quote. I'm gonna probably send it to you right after this. But it pretty much says that everybody, like, oh my God, I'm gonna butcher this, but in some way it's like everybody has this great idea, and everybody wants to do it, but people are just don't feel comfortable, and you feel like it's not good enough, right? And that's what's gonna get you like unmotivated. But the only way to get better at it is to put reps into it, like, to like practice it more, to dive more into it, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And then by itself, it's just gonna like build up to this thing that it's what you envision your whole time. So
Hmm.
that's what she told me. She's like, I know you don't feel comfortable right now, but keep doing it, keep trying. Don't get unmotivated, because you're gonna hit a time that you're gonna be like, I'm not gonna keep doing this. I feel awful doing this podcast, but keep doing it. Like, whatever happens to your mind, just put that goal in mind. Like, do one episode a week. Keep putting reps in. Just keep trying. And then she said, by the way, let's do an episode tonight. I'll do one with you. I'm like, cool, let's do it. So I was right there. We set up a camera at their gym, and I had an episode with Sammy. Um, and it was awesome. That kind of just marked me in some ways. Like, every time I feel like I'm motivated, it's like, hey, remember, like, we all have such a great idea, and we want to be at this point that, we feel comfortable doing this. And the only way is to keep doing it, keep trying, keep pushing. And then eventually it's going to be like this thing that now I love, like, connecting with people and having some of my friends or people I don't know just being on the podcast. And that's another reason why whenever you reach out to me, I'm like, dude, I love it, let's do it, because I really
Yep.
enjoy it. I
Yeah.
really enjoy it.
So my first ever episode, I didn't buy all that fancy gear. I actually bought two. I had an app on my phone called the Anchor app, and so what I would do is I would connect my two lapel mics to my phone and record that way. So
Mm.
my first ever episode was recorded at a Panera Bread. So it was a
Yeah.
diabetic weightlifter, and I've talked about the story before, but literally I had no idea how to use the app and stuff, and so I recorded the whole thing, and then I pressed stop, and then like I didn't know what happened. I thought like the whole audio just went to crap, but it actually saved. But yeah, like I would use a lapel mic, put one of the if I was doing like a Zoom call like this, I put a lapel mic on the speaker of the computer, and then put one on me. And then I
Mm.
just record it that way. And then after a while, it's like, oh wait, I should start. And actually, Sean Winland was the one that really told me I should start doing video because like he's like you need to start doing like other avenues of media. And the only
Yeah.
reason why I started the first podcast was like Richard Branson has a quote that I use like all the time, like screw it, just do it.
Yep.
And so I'm just like,
Exactly.
screw it. Like here's an opportunity. She's in Atlanta doing a competition. I might as well just go down and, watch her lift and then maybe do an episode. And then I realized after a while that the people I reach out to, they love, I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying like other people like to talk about themselves.
Hmm.
And so that's like a good way to get people into your podcast. Like I have like the one that really I really shook my nerves a little bit, I think was Carrie Pierce when I interviewed her. And I was so nervous the whole time. Like I was like, oh my God, like this is like my favorite female athlete. And like she's literally like I'm staring at her right now. And so
Wow.
it was crazy to think like, I'm able to talk to these people after like, almost like 3 years of doing this stuff. It's amazing.
It's incredible. And I say it all the time. It's probably the best decision I've made this year. It's helped me tremendously just to connect with people who are in a similar situation than me, and realizing that in some ways we all go through the same. We all have the
Hmm.
same struggles. We all have the same journey of like, failing and stuff. And it's so cool to see how like we just express our feelings and our emotions in different ways. And I've always been somebody that's been very private with my personal life, and just being able to connect with people from all over the country and talk about like our struggles, our fears, like our journey as content creators and failing, people talking about, family passing away and all that. It's helped me so much to just open up more about my feelings, about my journey, about so many cool things. I feel like a completely different person just because it's helped me realize that the way that you're really gonna impact people is to be yourself. It doesn't really, like, we have this thing that, like, oh, you shouldn't cry if you have this, like you should be a private person.
No,
But in
screw that,
reality,
man. Screw that.
yeah, in
Sorry.
reality, it's so cool to have people on my podcast that they just open up completely to somebody that probably like it's the first time they meet me, and they tell this cool story that people are messaging me after that, like, yo dude, like I love that episode with this person, like, so inspirational.
Hmm.
It's such a huge impact that people can make in a podcast. And it's something that I never thought it was going to happen. I thought it was going to be more of like a, like a challenge for me. But now it's such a beautiful experience to have all these people. Like, I learned so much from every single one of them. And it's a lot of people that I look up to. And sometimes it's people that are, getting started, because it's good to get like a different perspective. But from every single episode, I take something new to my life, like something that I learn, and it's really cool. It's one of those things that I'm like, this crazy idea just turned into one of the best decisions in my life, and I feel like a completely different person, to the point that I feel comfortable just sharing most of my struggles and my journey with people that I really don't know, but I just feel like I can impact people in a positive way. And I really look up to people that do that, so I'm like, why not? I'm just gonna be myself. And I've always been kind of like a sensitive slash emotional person,
Hmm.
and it's something that I put kind of like a wall between. And I never actually, people I knew me, they never knew that I will be like, like I am, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Very, very cool. So we're getting close to the end. So I have some rapid fire questions, but
Yep.
like I always say before, they're not rapid fire, so you can take your time. So um so do you have any goals that oh actually before that, you're a host at a competition too. I forgot to mention that. So
Yeah.
are you pretty excited about that?
Oh man, I'm super stoked. We just had the Pensacola Beach Bowl, which this year it was, I mean, it's one of the best experiences of my life. I had a team of like, I think it was 12 to 13 people. I was in charge of like all the media operations, all the hiring, scheduling stuff. It was like, it's probably the biggest weekend of my life. And it just ended this past weekend. So I've been super emotional for the past couple of days. Just, it was such a long journey to get there. I wrote a post on my Instagram that 6 years ago I was rolling the competition floor at the same competition at beach roll, just being a volunteer until midnight, like, and knowing that now I'm at this position is kind of mind blowing. And so it's always been something that I really like, just being that spot of like, that kind of like the operation, managing the events or managing something. So I had the opportunity at Mako, the owner reached out to me. And by the way, Brandon Massey, the person I was talking to, he's like, "Hey, I have this idea that I want to host a competition like here at Mako,
Hmm.
and I feel like something like I want to team up with you. I feel like it'll be awesome if we can team up. We can help each other in different ways. So let's start throwing ideas around." And it's something that we actually talked like a couple of years ago about like making a competition. It just kind of like we actually like took like full action into it, and we're like, let's do it. Okay, it's gonna be in October, close to Halloween. So we're calling it the Macon Monster Mash.
Hmm.
Man, it's I'm super stoked about it. Teams are like people are starting to register more and more. So anybody listening that you want to have a good week and a good weekend in Florida and Pensacola, Florida, um, go to either my Instagram or Mako Athletics Instagram, and you can register. It's gonna be great. I mean, it's gonna be more of a fun type of event. Obviously we want people to have a challenge working out, but at the same time, it's more of a we want everybody to have a good time.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay, now to the rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
All right. What are your goals for I know literally we have a couple months left, but like what are your goals for the end of the year and going into 2023? It could be personal or business wise, anything.
Yeah. Um, that's a tough question. I have more than goals. I'm already like I have some projects coming up that I'm really looking forward to. I'm going back to Vermont in October to do some more stuff for HWPO. Super excited about that. I have the Rogue Invitational that I'm gonna shoot again with Tier Sport. I'm gonna do videos and what's there's something. Oh, I just got the marketing person from a company called Dark Sport reach out to me to go to Olympia to photograph some of their athletes, which
Oh, that's
already
cool.
did a shoot for them a couple of I think like a month or two ago.
Hmm.
And I mean their athletes are like Ronnie Coleman, Brandon Hendricks, and it's kind of like mind blowing to like take photos of Ronnie Coleman. So those are things I'm really looking forward to. And I mean obviously the goal is to do the best I can do at those and just keep I mean the future just keep doing what I'm doing right now, and hopefully, in some ways, I keep impacting people in a positive way. And that's another reason why I want to like, be a little more outspoken. I just want to like reach a bigger audience and try to be, in some ways, like a good. I mean, as I said, like just impact people in a positive way, like the way that you are doing it with the podcast, and hopefully, like me with mine.
Very cool. Okay. What is your favorite book?
Favorite book. I mean, right now I'm listening because they one of my friends told me like you need to listen to it. I'm listening to the David Goggins book, and I've always been like really into the kind of like motivational type of books that will like get you pumped up after you like read it or
Hmm.
like listen to it.
Yep.
I'm really enjoying it. The listening thing. It also has a podcast. I don't know if you've heard it. So you list it's like him talking about well actually it's the narrator reading the book, like narrating the book, and then after every chapter they go into like a little podcast of David Goggins and him talking about that specific part.
Hmm.
So I think that's really cool. But I mean the CrossFit, if you were talking about books in CrossFit, I remember reading the Ben Bergeron book a couple of years ago, and I remember being like, yo, I really liked it. And at that point, it was kind of like I mean, not new in CrossFit, but I really didn't know much about it. And that book kind of like, I love the type of like motivational, like manifestation, like using your mind to like achieve things that you never thought you could. So
Hmm.
those are the ones that come to mind right now.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's awesome. What is in your gym bag?
Well, definitely gymnastic grips. I have some, can I say brands?
That's fine.
Yeah, okay. So Bear Complex is the grips I've been using for a while. For some reason, I really like them. I don't use lifters. It's something I stopped using for a while. I have a pretty good mobility, so I'm like, and I'm not super into weightlifting. It's more CrossFit, so I kind of got used to not using lifters.
Hmm.
Wristbands, uh, two-put belt with a Venezuelan flag attached into like the little thing, and some podium pre-workout and like hydration. Other than that, I think that's it. Some knee sleeves. Other than that, I think that's it.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. So this one's gonna get a little deep. You kind of talked about this earlier, but let's just say you're on your, you're on your bed. This is the last day you're going to be on Earth. You have all your friends around you, around the bed. How do you want people to know you as?
Just as somebody that wow, that's a tough question. I can go like really deep into it, but I kind of want people to remember me the way I remember my dad, just being somebody that always tried to be kind and help people in some ways. Obviously, like everybody makes mistakes, everybody has their things that people are not gonna like, and we're not perfect. So obviously, it's like impossible to tell people like, oh, I want you to remember me as like such a great person. But I really hope that I leave this world with a positive impact in people, that the same people can impact others, because at the end of the day, like all the achievements that you're gonna do like as a person, like for example, if tomorrow I travel the world with, I don't know, Tiger Woods, whatever, like at the end of the day, when you die, people are not gonna remember that. What's gonna be there, it's like the impact that you're gonna make on people, and the impact that the people you impacted can impact others. um so hopefully, yeah, somebody that in some ways help other people, and just as a kind person, hard worker, and somebody that's not perfect, but it's that always try to push forward in every aspect of his life.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. So where can people reach out to you if they have any questions about like, photography, videography, pretty much anything, any questions, where can they reach out to?
Yeah, definitely the best place will be Instagram. So my Instagram account is at Bown Media. It's spelled like brown, the color brown without the R, Bown Media. I'm pretty uh how you say, like, active on social media on Instagram. So if you have any questions, my DMs are always welcome. Again, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, when I got started, I was that person that would reach out to everybody, and I really really remember all those people that helped me out, and I always want to be that same person that if somebody reaches out to me, even though sometimes I might not have the best answer, or I just wouldn't know the answer, I'm still gonna try to help in some way.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. This is probably one of the longest ones I've had. So this is awesome. Yeah. So thank you for taking the time to, hear your story and, be vulnerable in a podcast. And yeah, thank you. I can't thank you enough.
No, Tom, I mean, the pleasure is mine. I really, really appreciate you being, first of all, reaching out to me. And it kind of means a lot to know that, some people look up to like, my Instagram account will be like, oh, wow, like I would love to have him on the pod. Wait, somebody's called me. There you go. It's just kind of mind blowing sometimes to know that some people like might want me on a podcast. But dude, I mean, I really appreciate it. I've had a blast. I mean, we've been on for like
Hour and a
hour
half.
and a half, and I mean, it went by so quick. I loved every minute of it. So I really appreciate what you're doing, not only for like people like me, like content creators, but for everybody else. You were just talking to me about diabetes and all that, and it's really cool, man. Like what you're doing right now, and I always tell people when I'm podcasting, you should be really proud of what you're doing right now, because it's something that nobody is like telling you, hey, you should do this and that. It's something that comes straight from your heart, and you're helping people in a very very how you say, like, you're not expecting anything in return.
Hmm.
You just want to have a cool conversation and hopefully help people and impact life. So I appreciate your time, and dude, I'm down to that anytime you want to do another episode. I'm
Oh,
always
absolutely.
available.
Absolutely. Definitely. All right. We'll talk later.
Appreciate it, Tom. Thank you.
All right. Hey, dude, thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Now